Welcome to another episode of Sips and Screams, where twin sister horror movie fanatics sip themed cocktails and discuss our favorites in the genre. Today, we are going back to 1978 to perhaps one of the greatest horror movies of all time, the original Halloween, written by Deborah Hill and John Carpenter and directed by John Carpenter. This one introduced us to the most iconic, most evil, slowest walking, knife-wielding, sister-hating, totally immortal killer of babysitters. The one, the only, often imitated, never duplicated, Michael Myers.
AKA The Shape.
Yes.
AKA Boogeyman.
The Boogeyman.
That's
the
right.
Boogeyman.
The one and only.
The night he came home. I'm Ashley, and of course, joining me as always is my twin sister, Allie. Allie, what's going on? How are you?
You know, Ash, it's been a week. I got to say, I'm looking forward to this, you know, not only to discuss such a fantastic movie, but to get into those cocktails very soon.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm coming off of two hurricanes, not one, two hurricanes in a few weeks down here in Tampa. So this is very much needed. And I love October. I love the Halloween spooky season.
Yeah.
And we cannot wait to get into this. This is, is this our Roman Empire?
I think it is. Yeah. I think this is our Roman Empire.
It might be. So, get ready. We are going to spend the next however long with you and really dissect everything about Halloween. As always, you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, even TikTok. Our handle is at Sips and Screams Pod. You can also email us at sipsandscreams.podcast@gmail.com. Also, we are everywhere where you get your podcasts, so please reach out. As always, we love to hear from you. Okay, Allie, it's your favorite. What time is it? You tell me.
And this one's needed. It is killer cocktail time.
You're damn right it is.
You're goddamn right. And we have a good one tonight. We have a good one.
What are we doing?
Bear with us, everyone. This will make sense. We are making a version,
we promise.
Our version of a Halloween margarita, I'd say, is what we're doing tonight, Ash. So we are doing tequila. First time we have a tequila-based cocktail on the podcast. So I think it's going to be a fun night.
And, tequila makes me go night-night a little bit. Like, I don't know.
Ash.
I don't know what it does. It makes me sleepy. So let's see.
It has the opposite effect on me. So this will be fun.
Okay.
What do you have in your shaker, Ash? So let's explain how we're doing this.
So I have a nice white tequila. Could not tell you the name of it, but it's a good one.
Espolón. I believe it's Espolón.
Okay, that's what I have.
You posted
on a photo.
I
did post it.
You posted a story. You're drinking Espolón Blanco, and I'm having Casamigos Blanco over here.
I'm not a tequila connoisseur. I'm just not. So we have that our tequila, and then a little bit of lime squeezed in.
Yeah, in our shakers. That's right. And we're going to pour this in, and then don't worry, folks, we're adding more to this. It's going to be
not just straight tequila.
No, it's not.
You don't want to kill me.
In.
Okay. Ready?
Yep.
All right. I shook mine up a little bit.
Yeah. Get in there. Mm-hmm. And then we're making some special ones. And
I can smell it already.
I love the smell of tequila. If you get good tequila,
shot and a half. I don't know. I kind of free poured it.
Yeah, about a shot and a half in here, I think. And then we are going to top it off. I'm going to do a little bit different than you, but we're going to top it off with some San Pellegrino Blood Orange.
That's right. We're keeping it Halloween themed.
That's right.
Mine's the zero, no added sugar, keeping it tight. Keeping it tight in this cocktail.
What's the story behand that, Ash? Why do you have no added sugar San Pellegrino tonight?
You know what? I Instacarted this today. I was working and I Instacarted it, and this is what they had. So here we go. So I'll let you know.
You tell me how that is.
I will. I'm like, I don't know. It looks like it should be okay. Are you pouring yours in?
Yeah, I did. Oh, look at that. Look at that. For our listeners, it's this beautiful kind of red color. This is beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Orangey red, I guess. Yeah.
Orangey red.
I always forget to bring something to stir this with. So it's always kind of awkward for me at the beginning.
Well, you're stirring it with your finger. And I am too.
With my finger, yeah.
I am too. Okay. I think this is going to be strong. All right. Ooh. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. And also I'm just very excited to see where the night goes, since this is our first time doing the podcast whilst having tequila.
Let's see. Okay.
Yeah.
This is for Michael.
Yeah. Buckle up, everyone.
Delightful.
Oh, that's delicious.
Mine's, not gonna lie, mine's strong. Mine packs a punch.
Same here. Same here. I
Delicious.
like Ash on Tequila, though. I think this is, again, going to be fun. Listeners, get ready.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. And we are also paying homage, I think, to what the embodiment of evil. I don't know. We're wearing black. We're wearing black, like
straight black.
Michael Myers' soulless eyes. Yeah. Right. We are wearing black.
Yeah. We are really representing him. I mean, again, Ash, like this was difficult for both of us to find no black to wear for this podcast.
Like my entire closet is black.
Yeah. But we're doing this for Michael Myers. Dr. Loomis, all of them. So cheers. We're going to dig in. It's going to be a good one.
Halloween. Let's go. All right. It is time for Sips and Synopsis. Allie, you do such a good job on this. Why don't you take it away? Tell us about the plot of Halloween.
So happy to. Again, as always, going to take a little sip before I dig in.
Yeah. Prep. You get a pregame before you do the Sips and Synopsis.
I do. Lot to get into. Again, Ash alluded to this at the beginning. This movie is one of our favorites. We're going all the way back to 1978.
That's right.
I mean, we weren't even
actually
born yet
believe
when this movie came out. No,
it doesn't feel like 1978. The sound does.
It doesn't.
The sound dubbing.
The sound
definitely does.
Yeah. But it still holds up on rewatch. I think I see this. We rewatch this movie every single year, around Halloween. I think most of our listeners probably do as well. Just really excited to dig into the content, the characters, the evil, that little surprise ending. Just very excited for this one. So 1978, we are introduced at the very beginning to a younger version of our antagonist in this movie.
I was like, are you going to say protagonist? Antagonist?
No. I'm going to say antagonist. Yeah. We first meet him. I got to say the opening scene of this movie, John Carpenter did such a good job with it. Right. And we know that it was filmed in one take, this opening scene. So it really starts off on the house, Michael Myers' house, childhood home. And we see it from his point of view. So again, the way the cinematography of this movie, I feel like was very ahead of its time in 1978 when it was filmed. It is Halloween night in 1963. We're watching this house through the eyes of this little child. We see Michael Myers' sister and her boyfriend make it out on the couch. Yeah. There's some exchange there. They want to, again, take it, as we see in a lot of these movies, right? Take it to the next level.
Take it upstairs.
To the bedroom, take it upstairs. So they go upstairs. They're there for a very brief amount of time. So brief, maybe a couple minutes.
He's like,
is it Bob? Is his name? Ash?
Bob.
Judith is Michael Myers' sister, and I believe her boyfriend is Bob.
Quotation marks. Yeah. And she's like, will you call me tomorrow? And he's like, yeah, sure.
Sure. He couldn't get out of there quick enough. Yeah.
They're so douchey. Yeah. These guys. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So then, they do their thing. He leaves. Judith then decides to brush her hair in front of a mirror. Naked.
Like half naked. Is she naked?
I think she's like fully naked in this. Yes.
What?
I don't know. Again, the choices at the beginning of this movie, and it was written by Deborah Hill and John Carpenter. Singing. So I kind of love that. Yeah. She's quite pleased, I guess. I mean, she seems pleased, Ash, in those 2 minutes. So I don't know. But what we see, again, we're seeing it from Michael's point of view, and he goes into the kitchen and he grabs the largest butcher knife like I've ever seen that you've had in your home. So
not even in like a knife block, just like laying it out
in the drawer. I think it was in the drawer, right? He opens it, he takes his butcher knife out, and at that point, he pulls that mask down too, right? And so again, such cool cinematography because the mask is over the camera now, so everything we're seeing is not only from his point of view, but it's through this mask, this clown mask, as he's holding the butcher knife.
Yes, he's dressed as a clown. He came back from like trick or treating or whatever.
Yeah. Or did he? I don't even know if they took him trick-or-treating,
Maybe he just likes to dress up in clown costumes.
Maybe. But little 6-year-old Michael Myers. And so he has this knife. He goes upstairs and he comes upon his sister and she's just like, Michael. And he just like stabs her.
No defense
times.
either. No defense.
Yeah, very much kind of like you were saying is in Friday the 13th. So stabs his sister, kills his sister, goes downstairs as his parents are arriving home, just holding this knife. And then that's where kind of the camera pans out and the parents are just like shocked, right? That their little boy is pulling this knife.
Their sweet little angel. When the parents come home and they see like Michael standing in the yard with the knife. Yeah. they look like, what was that look? Was it disappointment? It wasn't like a blood curdling scream. Like, I guess they didn't know what had happened yet.
Yeah. I guess they didn't know that he killed his sister, but
like, I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
But there was blood on the knife, Ash. Like something happened. Something bad happened.
They didn't know yet, but yeah. Really.
Maybe it was expected, Maybe they knew Michael was kind of disturbed.
Maybe they were
like, oh, it's going to happen eventually. Maybe that's why they went out that night. But anyway, so that's the opening scene of the movie. Good. And it's so great. And then it cuts to 1978. So we just move ahead to 15 years later. And this is when we're introduced to maybe one of the other protagonists of the series, right? I think Dr. Loomis.
Yeah.
So Dr. Loomis is Michael Myers. We learned is Michael Myers' doctor who's been treating him all these years as he's been locked away in this asylum.
And I'll fill in some of the gaps and alternate endings too about some things in between there as well with Dr. Loomis.
Oh, yeah. No, that'll be great. And some of the sequels or the reimagining certainly went into that more. But this one, we don't know anything. We just know he's been locked away for 15 years, but he's up for, I don't think it's parole per se, which would be insane, but maybe it is.
No, I'm going to tell you what it is.
Okay.
I have the answers, everybody.
Okay. We do not know as you watch it. Very excited for that, Ash. Can't wait. So Dr. Loomis and the nurse are traveling up to the asylum to transfer Michael to a courthouse, I believe it is. Yeah. And he's explaining to the nurse like how evil this Michael Myers character is, right?
And she's just like smoking darts in the car, right? She's just like smoking, like, what do you mean? Like she has no cares in the world.
I know.
At all.
Yeah. And it's raining. Again, they're setting the mood, right? But as they're coming upon the asylum, they see that there's all these patients just roaming around. There's roaming around. And it's
quite
dark out. It's rainy out. And Loomis immediately knows that something is wrong. He immediately knows that Michael has escaped. Yeah, that Michael Myers has escaped. And so he gets out of the car to go see what happened. And Michael Myers just jumps on top of their car. Right. And I think it reaches in and tries to hurt the nurse. But luckily she actually ends up surviving that, which is surprising, I'd say.
Yeah, she's tough.
But yeah, she gets out, but Michael manages to get away with the car. So he takes that car and he drives off.
And Loomis takes his sweet time to, like, the nurse is like traumatized when she gets out of the car, and Loomis like takes a sweet time like coming over to her. Like
he does.
What's going on?
What? Yeah. And then Michael Myers drives off in this car. He can drive it, somehow 15 years later.
Yep.
And Loomis is like, the evil is gone. It's gone.
So good.
So good.
Does Loomis have the best lines? He might.
I think he does. He has a lot of one-liners in the movie, but they are iconic. I mean, Laurie's got some good lines too.
The script, the dialogue in the script is so good.
I know. And I think the fact that it was written by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill makes a difference in the script too. So some of the characters were certainly written, I think, from a female point of view, and vice versa. So I think you certainly see that, especially on rewatch when you know that. So so this all happened the night before Halloween, October 30th. So now it's the next day, October 31st. Loomis knows where Michael's going, right? Loomis knows that Michael is going back to his childhood home, which happens to be in Haddonfield, Illinois.
Midwest.
Midwest, not a real place, everybody, but a place certainly in this movie. And so it cuts to the next day, and this is when we meet our main protagonist. We've got Loomis, but our main protagonist, in this first one in this series is Laurie Strode. And so we meet her and her family. She's clearly very studious, right? She's carrying all these books. She's always just carrying all these books. But
so many books.
It's the morning before school. She's getting ready to walk to school, and she has to drop off. I guess her parents are real estate agents. So they asked her to drop off. Yeah. And they asked her to drop off the key at the Myers house because I guess that Myers house is for sale and there's a potential buyer, or at least someone who's coming to look at it.
Would you buy that house? Would you tour it?
I would not tour it. No. Yeah. And I can't imagine the resale value on that thing is that much,
They're like, someone was brutally murdered in here.
Brutally murdered there.
And they didn't
15 years ago.
It. They didn't do any upkeep either.
Look, I think those parents quickly moved out. I mean, their daughter was murdered. Their son is locked up. Yeah.
More information and alternate endings on this. But what happened to the parents?
She goes and drops the keys off at Michael Myers' house. And she, on her way out, runs into some of these children, right? Tommy, I think is one of them, right? And then there's some of the other kids. And we learn that is called like the boogeyman's house. And so that's kind of some folklore within the town, right? After what happened there. But Laurie says she's not scared, and she goes up and delivers the keys.
And Tommy's like, all right, see you tonight.
Yeah.
They just leave immediately to go to school.
I know.
The interaction's hilarious.
It is funny. And yeah, so another thing we learned like throughout all these interactions, right, that they're all babysitters. So all these teenage girls are all babysitting on Halloween night, I guess. Yeah. While the parents are going out after trick-or-treating. That is one thing I don't understand about the timeline. When did the kids do the trick-or-treating? I guess like a lot earlier.
A lot earlier. I think they do it before dark because you can't have the kids out after dark. I think that's what they do.
Maybe that's it. Maybe there's like a curfew because of what happened, because Michael Myers killed his sister Judith, brutally stabbed her.
Yeah, but he killed her at home. So the curfew helped his plight.
That's true.
That helped him.
And the one thing, but when she goes to deliver the keys, another thing that we see in that is we see it from inside the house and someone's in there, right? Yeah. And so obviously at that point, you're assuming breathing. Yeah, they do this a lot. The heavy breathing in the movie. I don't know if it's coming through in it, but you see that someone's in there. So obviously at that point, we're assuming it's Michael, right? He's come home. Yeah. Loomis was right.
Sure did.
He came home to, I guess, finish the job, to continue the job that he started on Halloween night 15 years ago. So at this point, Loomis has made his way to Haddonfield, and he goes to the police and he's trying to warn them that this is Michael's ultimate destination, right? That he came home, and that's where he's going to be. The police are very skeptical about this, as often the police are in these movies. But again, Loomis is going to stick around because he knows that's where he's coming. Yeah. So we go to the school. So now it's the school day. We have Laurie. This, again, such a great scene, right? Laurie's sitting in class. Yeah. And they're always alluding to the fact that Laurie is very studious. She's able to answer the teacher's questions. But as she's sitting there, she looks outside the window and she sees this figure, this shape, this man, if you will, Michael Myers.
He had the mask at this point.
He did. He had the overalls, the blue overalls, and he had the mask at this point. And he's just standing outside the school window by his car. Yeah. And so she sees him, and then she looks away, and she looks back, and he's gone. So that's kind of the first time that we see Michael Myers in his mask and his coveralls.
And Laurie is distracted, right? And then she still gets the answer right. She's a little.
She does. Oh, she's very studious. Yeah, she's a multitasker. That girl.
She is. Were they the first movie to do the sitting in the classroom? Because we'll talk about it in rip-offs, but they might have been one of the first ones.
I think so. And as we know, a lot has done it since.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But now it quickly cuts to the end of the day. And I think one of the interesting things we see, at least in this first movie, right? The kids, Tommy and some of the other kids, they're, running out from school, excited to go home and go trick-or-treating, I guess. And they actually run into Michael. So he's still there. They run into him. So we see it from kind of the cameras from the back of Michael.
They run into him. They hit him.
Literally hit him. Literally. Yes. And they look up and he would have had the mask on. I mean, you'd be freaking out at that point.
But if you didn't know, they had no association. Right. So they just thought some dude had a Halloween costume on. But we would.
Oh, fair enough. Yes. Yeah. So he can just be out there wearing his creepy mask, wearing his creepy coveralls.
That's why he did it.
Standing there freely because it's Halloween. Yeah. Good.
Walking around very slowly.
Yeah, I know. And Loomis, throughout all this too, it cuts to scenes with Loomis. He's still trying to warn them. He's doing some research on his own. So we do learn in the course of Loomis's research how he got those coveralls, right? And the mask. And I think, and that was great too, to learn that, because you're like, why is he wearing this? He was a patient at the asylum. We find that he killed someone who worked at a garage, right? And he stole their clothes. So that's why he has those coveralls during his rampage in Haddonfield on Halloween.
And the blood on that guy, when they show the scene.
Oh yeah.
Is so red. Body. What was that? Ketchup?
Well, back in the day, I think they used different things, right? Wasn't it corn? You don't even think it was the corn syrup thing they used to use?
Rewatch this and tell me how red is that blood on the garage worker guy that he killed. It's just very, very red. Redder than Sips and Screams background. Just saying. Redder than this drink.
I'm going to rewatch it. This is this is a reddish orange, right?
Hey, I'm really enjoying this, and it's really settled in nicely with the San Pellegrino. Yeah. So, Yeah. This is a great cocktail. I highly recommend it.
Okay, so back to the end of the school day. Laurie's walking home. This is when we meet her other two friends. So her friend Annie.
Good God.
Yeah. Come on. I have characters though, Ash.
So many
characters.
Amazing
so
characters.
Annie's the daughter of the local sheriff, right? So she's the daughter of that man who has been very skeptical when Loomis tried to warn him about Michael Myers being there. And her other friend, Linda. Who just loves to say totally, all the time. Totally. Yeah, totally.
We can have a drinking game. How many times she says
totally? Exactly. We should. There's certainly some drinking games you could make with this movie. Okay, so Linda leaves to go off with her boyfriend, and then we have Annie and Laurie who are walking home. And this is the second time now that they see Michael Myers in the car. So there's this guy in a car following them. And again, the way they react to some of these things, right? This guy in a car is following them. They're like, oh, he's being creepy. And they like yell out to him. And then he just like full on like stops the car.
Like, maybe he's cute.
Yeah. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But you can clearly see in that point too, that it's like a man in a mask. But again, I guess to your point, Ash, it is Halloween. So it wouldn't be so unexpected that someone would have a mask on, but still he's clearly stalking these specific girls, right? These specific teenagers.
Yeah. And I'll discuss this later in alternate endings, but there is a scene that wasn't in the theatrical version that kind of gives a little more insight into why they weren't necessarily afraid. And just a little foreshadowing there.
Oh, okay. Oh, I love that. Mm-hmm. So we learned that they're all that Annie and Laurie are babysitting tonight, right? And they learned that they're babysitting.
Who wasn't babysitting?
Yeah,
what teenage girl wasn't babysitting?
Linda wasn't. We know that,
right?
Linda was going to take advantage of the fact that Annie was babysitting with her boyfriend, but Annie and Laurie are going to be babysitting Lindsay and Tommy, who happen to live across the street from each other, right? So I think that plays an important role later when you can actually see the two houses when you look out the window. But again, on their walk home, Laurie again sees Michael Myers standing by the bush. Great scene. That scene, right?
That scene is iconic.
When she sees him. Yeah. So they're walking down the street. She sees Michael Myers standing by the bush. And again, goes to tell Annie, and then they look and he's gone, right?
He's gone.
So again, like such a good scene.
For a slow walker, he can really move. He can really deceive people and move. He is quick.
Yeah. Yeah. He's agile. He's an agile villain. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. He ducks behind that bush.
And I think one thing you notice too, and I noticed this on rewatch as they're walking home, like the kids are already trick-or-treating. So what is it, like 3:30, 4 p.m.?
Yeah.
Kids are already out trick-or-treating at that point. So we cut to a couple of hours later. Annie goes to pick up Laurie, and they're driving to their babysitting jobs together. And they just like smoke. She has a joint. They just smoke a joint, which I thought was so interesting.
Happening?
I mean, it was the 70s, but like what a out of place like moment, right?
Yeah, and she takes it and she like knows how to smoke it. I'm like, what is going on, Laurie?
Yeah,
like,
Laurie's got some
edge.
Yeah, some edge. She does. Laurie has some edge to her.
And did you notice it got like so dark so quickly? What time is this?
I had that written down. No, but they're driving. So they get in the car. She's like,
how long were they driving?
I don't know, but they're smoking
the sun has set.
They run into the sheriff, and then they go on their way.
For a long time.
Yeah, and then all of it, it's dusk at that point, and then all of a sudden it's like pitch black out. Yeah. And they see, well, they don't notice this, but Michael Myers in the cop car is following them. Yeah. So he's just been stalking them, and he follows them to the houses where they're babysitting at. And at this point, so we kind of have these two different stories happening, right? We have the girls babysitting, and then we have Loomis's story and what he's trying to do. And he's really trying to locate Michael Myers. He's trying to warn the cops. He's trying to ward off damage that he knows Michael Myers is going to cause.
But he tells the cops, he's like, keep your mouth shut and your eyes open. Like, you really wanted to find this man?
Oh, you're right.
Like this, 21-year-old crazy person, like get them everywhere. He doesn't want to upset the parents or the trick-or-treaters. I don't know what that motivation was.
I think he thinks that they're going to be overwhelming. There'll be all these tips that come in and they won't be able to find the right one, I guess. I think that's it, because he's like, it's Halloween. Everyone who sees a mask is going to be saying this. So to be fair, I kind of understand his point there.
All right. Okay. Fair enough.
But Loomis really thinks that, not only is Michael Myers coming back to Haddonfield, but he's coming back to his childhood home. So he goes to that Myers house. Yeah. And they go in there, they see that he's been there clearly, right? Mm-hmm. Like someone killed a dog. He's ate a rat skunk? Or something. A skunk.
That's what he eats for sustenance. He's a skunk.
He just is eating. Yeah, okay.
Like, this is not a human.
So Loomis decides he's just going to wait at the Myers house for him. He's like, he's going to come back here at some point. So he's going to wait there.
And some kids come by and he's like, get out of here. Like the projection he has from behind the bushes.
Yeah, he's trying to warn them, Ash.
Yes. No,
yeah, it is good. It is good. Okay, so now we go back to our Annie and Laurie who are babysitting. And Annie, poor Annie, she's the first of them to meet her demise.
Drink. Everybody drink.
Mm-hmm. So Annie is babysitting. She's making, I think, popcorn. Spills butter all over herself.
Does she? Is it all over herself?
Well, it's like
she
over her shirt.
A little bit.
A little bit of butter on her top.
Immediately disrobes everything.
Immediately, everything. Yeah. Yeah. Like, she takes all of her clothes off. Yeah. Goes out to the laundry room. Immediately does laundry. Does laundry at her babysitting job.
What?
I know. That scene is so great. Gets locked in there, but then her boyfriend Paul is calling. She manages to get out, and she's, I think at this point, just wearing like a t-shirt or no, like a button down or something at this point, right? Is what she's wearing. Yeah.
The scene of her like flailing out the window, stuck in the window in her underwear.
That's right.
Her own tiny whities. Her own tiny whities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever done like laundry at a babysitting gig? Like, I just don't
know. I mean, I haven't babysat Ash in many, many years, but
oh no,
definitely not. Definitely not. Definitely didn't spill butter on myself and then immediately.
If I spilled a little butter, I'd be like, oops. Like,
yeah. But horror movie, having the female strip down, I guess a part of it back then. Okay. So Annie does manage to get out of the laundry room, with some difficulty.
God willing.
Yeah. But at this point, she wants to go see her boyfriend, Paul, right? So she's got that good friend, Laurie, who's across the street. So she takes the little girl, Lindsay, who she's supposed to be babysitting, over to Laurie's, and asks Laurie to also babysit not only Tommy, who she's babysitting, but Lindsay as well. So she like drops her off and then goes back to the house and goes to the car to go on her way to her boyfriend's place.
Yeah.
And well, that was her last place. Annie gets in that car. Who's in the car, Ash?
I mean, Michael Myers is in the back seat.
Yeah.
And he takes that opportunity to strangle
That's
Annie.
Right. That's right. He didn't even use the butcher knife this time. He just strangles Annie.
He strangles her. There is no defense. I mean, it's like this iconic death scene, but she's not fighting back at all. Like that actually annoys me.
I'm not sure any of them fight back in this one. Well,
it's like happening to them. Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
it's happening to them.
Yeah. But that's the best like death scene though, when she like falls on the horn, like you just see her like face, her lifeless face. That's a good kill.
And then meanwhile, right, her friend Annie and Laurie's friend Linda and her boyfriend. Actually, her boyfriend Bob. So Linda and Bob.
I don't know. It's always like some one syllable thing. Paul,
but
Bob.
we have to talk about their arrival, Ash, because man, that conversation.
I do have to say one thing about Annie. Mm-hmm. The dog dies, like the family dog dies, which you didn't mention, but the family dog, like Michael Myers killed the dog.
Yeah.
And Annie before was like, oh, I hate dogs. So you know what? I didn't feel bad. I really didn't feel bad when she died. I was like, oh, that's what you get. You hate dogs.
You get for hating dogs.
Person.
Yeah.
And you get strangled to death from the back seat by Michael Myers.
Myers. That's right. That's right. Also, you took the kid you were babysitting and just dropped her off next door.
Like bad person.
Yeah. Annie, there's some problems there, Annie.
Yeah.
But okay, so at this point, their other friend Linda and her boyfriend Bob arrive in their van or whatever they're driving, because again, they're going to use that house for their own purposes, right? They want to go there to hook up, and so
their parents were obviously out. Like, why do they go to one of their own houses? They go to hook up
high school
in a place with their friends babysitting.
Yeah, yeah. Like Annie would have been there, the kid would have been there. So they just go in. But before they go in, we have to talk about the conversation that they have.
I don't want to talk about it. Do we have to?
But we have to, Ash, because I mean, I always forget about it. And then every year, whenever we watch this movie, I'm just like, oh, like cringe, so problematic, obviously.
So bad.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't taken it out of the movie.
Too.
It's really bad.
Me too. It's awful. So Linda and Bob arrive at Annie's babysitting house, and they're, very excited to get inside and drink their beer and hook up. But as before they go in, Bob is like, let me see if I get this right. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Ash, but I believe he's like saying that first he's going to take his clothes off, and then he's going to take her clothes off, Linda's clothes off, and then they're going to take Lindsay's clothes off, the child's clothes off. Like, it's so problematic. I don't know why that line is in there. Yeah.
And it's disturbing. And Linda is like laughing maniacally, I would say. Like,
oh yeah. Like, oh yeah, how funny.
Not cool.
So again, I guess maybe you don't feel as bad when they meet their demise. To Michael Myers, you know?
Drink that tequila.
Yeah.
It's going down smooth.
Can't recommend this cocktail enough, everybody.
I really can't. And if you don't like tequila, this is the one for you, because I don't even taste it. I really don't.
All right. So Linda and Bob in the house hook up. After that, Linda wants a beer. So again, not only are they in the house, but they're also drinking the beer of the house as well. Yeah. So Linda's laying in bed. Bob goes downstairs to get the beer, and he's not alone in that house. And someone else is there.
He did not turn one light on. No single light.
No light at all. Just down there grabbing the beers. Yeah. And not
their beers. Were they their beers? Are they stealing the beers?
I think they're definitely stealing the beers of the. Yes.
What is happening in Haddonfield?
Many things that they're doing. Many things. And I think this is like something that Linda and Bob do often.
Was that commonplace? Like stealing the alcohol at the place you're babysitting at?
I don't know, Ash. I think we'll talk about this later in Sips and Simmering Questions, because there's some questions on this.
Definitely.
What people do is babysitting. But so he's in the kitchen, doesn't get to enjoy those beers because Michael Myers pops out of that closet and stabs him against the wall. He effectively takes that butcher knife and pins Bob against the wall with a butcher knife. And then Bob is just like hanging on the wall with this one butcher knife. It is a fantastic scene.
It is about as realistic as the Kevin Bacon kill in Friday the 13th. You're telling me that
obviously not.
This knife went through Bob, pinned him to the wall, and he can't even move. Not only pinned him, like nothing. He's not moving. He's like immobile.
He died quick, and he died quick. Like he can't move at all. Yeah, I mean that's one magic butcher knife.
The dude weighs like 180 pounds. Like you would fall down.
Yeah.
It logistically doesn't make sense, but like aesthetically,
it's great. Yes. It is amazing. But what happens next? Maybe even more so. Yeah. So, Linda now is the only one left in the house. So she's upstairs, still waiting for Bob to come back with those beers.
Oh, she's filing her nails.
Yeah. Is she filing her nails?
Oh, yeah. She has a nail file on hand. She's just filing her nails.
No, I would imagine it's the nail file again, Ash, of the people there, the babysitting house. Yeah. I think they're just using liberties. Yeah.
Talk about laundry. Were they going to wash the sheets after?
They weren't going to wash the sheets afterward.
I have so many questions.
So disturbing. So she's waiting for Bob. She thinks Bob arrives back at the room, but we know it's not Bob. It is Michael Myers with a sheet over his head, dressed like a ghost, and Bob's glasses. And so it's like, picture this. I mean, those of you who've seen it, we've all seen this, right? But Michael Myers already has the mask and the coveralls on. Again, I don't know why he did this. And then the sheet over his head like a ghost, but then he put Bob's glasses on. So he's trying to imitate Bob in that moment, I guess. I don't know why. It's not like he was trying to go in there and make out with her. I don't know why he needed to imitate Bob. But he
didn't have to. You have the power. Like you're scary enough. That was the most comical Michael Myers has been in the entire series.
It is. I agree. That was the most comical.
And you burst out laughing. Like it is so funny.
You do. That part's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so but at that point she gets up and she decides she's going to call Laurie, right? So he's not speaking to her. So she gets up and goes to call Laurie. And at that point, Michael Myers then takes the phone and strangles her with it. So she dies by being strangled by the phone cord. And on the other end is Laurie listening to this. And she thinks it's Annie or she thinks it's Linda, and she thinks they're calling while they're having sex.
Yeah.
And so that's what Laurie hears. And again, I guess it doesn't really think anything of it. It's like, oh, that's my friends again, calling me. It's so
their
great.
Friendship dynamic is,
they are.
We have to talk about that. That is,
I know.
Wow. Yeah. That's problematic.
But I guess that phone call did conjure up something in Laurie because she does decide to, once the kids are in bed. So once Tommy and Lindsay are in bed, to lock the house and go over and check on Annie, right? So she sees, I guess, the lights go out. So she does go over and check on them. So she goes over, she goes into this house. The lights are all out, and that's where she discovers Michael Myers. And so she goes upstairs. She finds all the bodies. She finds Bob's body. She finds Linda's body, Annie's body.
He was very creative in his replacing of the bodies.
Yeah, with Judith Myers's gravestone. So obviously Laurie's freaked out by that. You know, she's screaming a lot, and the most, I think, iconic scene in it, right? She's in a dark room and she's freaked out by that. And you just see Michael Myers' face come into frame.
Yeah.
And
so good.
I know that's been used like so much since, but at the time, I think that was one of the first times where they did this, right? So
terrifying.
Iconic, so great. He goes to attack her. She fights him off, but ends up falling down the stairs and hurting herself, right? Mm-hmm. But again, Laurie, very resilient. She's able to get out of that house. She goes down, like everything's locked, but she is able to get out of the house, and she goes back. She wants to go back, and she's trying to warn people and ask for help, but no one's helping her. Mm-hmm. So she has to go back to the house where she's babysitting, where Tommy and Lindsay are. So she gets back in the house. She goes in, she warns the kids, and she's sitting in the living room, and she realized that the window was open. So Michael Myers had another way in, not just the front door. So she's sitting on the couch, and Michael Myers just pops up from behind the couch and goes to attack her. But again, Laurie, being quite resilient, takes her knitting needle, and stabs him in the neck.
Is that a weapon?
I
never knew.
Think they're that sharp. I don't think they're that sharp. Like, you think that could pierce the skin? You'd have to do that with quite a bit of force.
You would.
Yeah. But she stabs him, and so she thinks at that point that she's killed him, right? Because she doesn't know the force that he is. She thinks this is just like a man.
Yeah.
So she goes up to get the kids. She gets the kids to leave. She says that, you know, she killed the boogeyman, but he's not dead. He's not dead.
The fact that she thinks she killed him with that knitting needle is, I don't know, Laurie, you're smart, but come on.
Yeah, I know. It's and she had the knife though, so she killed him. He dropped the butcher knife when that happened. She picks up, but she doesn't take it with her, right? She leaves it on the ground. Again,
how many times does she drop that damn knife? How many times?
I know.
Like, we should count like at least 3.
She does. I know. But she does get the kids out of the house. And I think that's smart, right? She asks them to go down and ask for help. But she goes upstairs. She realizes, Michael's not dead. That didn't kill him. The knitting needle to the neck didn't kill Michael Myers. Surprise. So she goes up the stairs. He's chasing her. She manages to hide in a closet.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. She's in the closet with the shutters. But I think one really smart thing she does, she's able to fashion another knife out of a coat hanger.
Yeah.
So again, she prepares a defensive weapon. Michael gets into the closet. She stabs him with that. And again, every time she thinks like one stab to Michael's going to kill him. But it never does.
He goes down, and she's like, "Oh, that's it."
Yeah, she thinks that's it. Like, he's done. He's done.
I'm good. I saved the day. I killed the boogeyman.
Yeah, she thinks she did. We know she didn't. But Loomis somehow arrives. So Loomis realizes, he sees, I guess, Michael Myers' car, the car that he stole from him, down the street.
Doesn't he hear like the commotion, like screaming or something?
I think so. He hears the commotion. He is able to get in the house, and he arrives, and Loomis has a gun. So right as Michael Myers is getting back up and trying to attack Laurie again, Loomis arrives and shoots him. Right. Yeah. And so Loomis shoots him multiple times. So much so that Michael Myers falls out the bedroom window onto the ground below. He saved, I guess he did save the day. He did save, I guess, Laurie's life there. And she asks him at the end, right? She's like, and we can talk about what the actual wording is. There's questions on this, but I believe she says that is the boogeyman. And he says, as a matter of fact, it was. But then they go over to the window, no body below. Michael Myers survived those shots and is now roaming around Haddonfield. And that's the end of the movie. Fantastic movie. Thanks for bearing with me as we got through that. Some good kills, some questionable characters, but Michael Myers lives on.
He came home the night he came home, and he lives on. So, like Friday the 13th, this even though it was set in Haddonfield, Illinois, which is actually based on Deborah Hill, where she grew up in Haddonfield, New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yes, but it was clearly filmed in California. There are palm trees. Note the palm trees. There are many.
In Pasadena, Ash.
Yeah. LA, SoCal. And the character, Michael Myers. So this is John Carpenter. And like, do you know the story of how they came up with the screenplay? Originally, it was supposed to be called The Babysitter Murders.
Yes.
Right?
I did remember reading that.
Does not really roll off the tongue. It's not the best.
It doesn't. No. No. I think Halloween is much cleaner, much more iconic. Yeah.
So the character Michael Myers is actually based on a patient that Carpenter saw in Kentucky when he worked at an insane asylum. And he was like, this like really evil, like child, basically, right? Like a really evil patient. But the name Michael Myers is actually a tribute to someone. So I guess Irwin Yablans, who was the executive producer in Halloween, he one of Carpenter's previous films, Assault on Precinct 13, weirdly wasn't well received. But Irwin Yablans really liked it and wanted to put it in like an international film festival. And he had this idea, I guess, about babysitters being stalked by this crazy killer and told Carpenter about it. And was like, it needs to be set on Halloween. And so Carpenter and Deborah Hill, who was his girlfriend at the time, wrote the script.
Oh, they were dating. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know
they
that.
were dating. Yeah. So you mentioned this earlier. The dialogue. So Deborah Hill actually grew up in Haddonfield, New Jersey, like I said before, and she was the one that was responsible for that horrible girl dialogue, like horrible.
I know. And that totally seen in like a lot of it. I know.
Just so ditzy.
Okay, but come on, Ash. I'm not sure a man could have done any better. I mean, we've seen the horror movies with when a man is written in that female dialogue. Mm-hmm.
That's true. We should actually compare it. I guess it was
better.
It
got better in like the 90s. Yeah. I mean, come on, Scream. It definitely got better.
It was very like dichotomous. So they were like the ditzy, like totally girls, and then Laurie. Like there was no in between.
The studious Laurie. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and she says that quote. It's like, guys don't like me because I'm smart, and they're just like ripping on her the whole time. Linda. And Annie are ripping on her the entire time.
Not good friends, Linda and Annie.
They're like, you like Ben Trainer? Like, oh, you'll never get a date, Laurie, if you dress like that. Like, I don't even bring my books home. Why do you bring your books home, Laurie? No wonder you don't have a date. Like, so like bullying and just awful. We have to talk about the mask. We have to.
Yep.
So do you know where the mask came from?
Yeah, I do know. I do know. That it
has a Canadian connection.
It does. It's a William Shatner Star Trek mask, right? Captain Kirk, Star Trek, right? Star Trek mask.
I think so.
But they took and they painted it white. They cut the eyes out of it, and they painted the hair and made the hair different too. But I guess they tried different masks. So they tried a clown mask, but then they got this one, and it was just super creepy. And I think the point was that they wanted it to kind of be faceless.
Yeah,
right.
Soulless, faceless.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess it worked well. But a Star Trek mask.
That is the creepiest mask, though. Like out of all of the killers, that's the one. Mm-hmm. I'm like, it is. Yeah, I mean, definitely the most famous, probably. But like, if I saw that someone's like approaching me on the street with that mask, I would run away. I'd be very, very scared. And honestly, is this the best score of all time? You know, John Carpenter wrote it. He composed it and wrote it. Right? He's also a musician, and it's the best. You're gonna play this?
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely the best score of all time. I mean, I think even beyond just horror movies, it's amazing. And he just came up with this.
It's so good. I guess he like was just playing because it's not even like 4/4, right? It's kind of like it has a really interesting time signature. And I guess when he first showed one of the drafts of the movie to one of the studio execs or something, they were like, well, this isn't scary. And then when he added the music, they're like, oh, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just so iconic. So good, lives on today. Mm-hmm. And I think, rivals any other. I like the Friday the 13th. I thought that one was good. But this is it. This is Michael Myers.
This is it.
This is it.
Yeah.
Halloween.
You hear the first few notes of that and you know immediately, right? It brings you back.
And that bass, absolutely.
It's so good.
It's so good. Absolutely amazing. It kind of crescendos as well. And I think the movie poster for this too, the original one, The Night He Came Home, was just so great, but they had different versions of it. Okay, so obviously The Night He Came Home, the one with like the pumpkin and the knife, that's like iconic. That was the best one. But they had some other ones where Laurie was in the foreground and Michael was in the background. And it was like, you can't kill the boogeyman. The trick is to stay alive. Yeah, like really, really.
That's cheesy.
Very, very cheesy. All right. So we've seen this countless times, right? I don't even every year I've been alive. But where did we first see it? Do you remember?
No, I don't think every year you've been alive, Ash. I don't think the first few years of your life
Not the first
were watching and encoding this movie. Yeah,
we watched this at a really like inappropriate young age. Though.
Yeah, like 6. I believe we were 6 years old.
Yeah.
And we watched this like in our living room together, I believe, with like our father.
Yeah.
It was on TV and we sat down and we just watched Halloween together.
As a family.
Like,
family night. Family movie night. Halloween.
But we loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved it. I mean, I think Michael Myers, like certainly I think you too, right? Our favorite like horror movie villain. So great.
And maybe because we associated with like family time. Like, this was a really like family bonding moment. Watching Halloween
conjures up like great memories of my childhood.
Having popcorn. We had that old school like popcorn.
We totally had popcorn and we watched this. And we watched Halloween.
Totally had it. And I actually watched it because they screen this every year, like in every theater, every city. And I watched this in 2017 in Toronto, and you had to like fight to get tickets. And I got like first row or something. Yes. It was like on Halloween night. It was this whole thing. And I went, and it was fun to be with a bunch of people, but not as scary, like so funny. Like people were like laughing at the things, but everyone was like loving it so much, but people were laughing at the dialogue and like the jump scares and all of that.
Well, it was an independent movie too, right? Like it's certainly a cult classic, did great at the box office. I think it was made for, 300,000. Yeah. Right. And it made hundreds of thousands. Like it did really well, I believe.
So they weren't expecting it.
No, it's small budget. I think they filmed this in 21 days in Pasadena. This was Jamie Lee Curtis' first movie.
Yeah.
She's, I think 17 at the time when she filmed this. So it's a happy story actually. And for people who love horror, we all certainly appreciate this movie, for what it was and also for what it inspired after this.
Very influential. Yeah. And it was funny because when they cast Jamie Lee Curtis, right, her mom, Janet Leigh, was in Psycho, right? Mm-hmm. So they were like, ooh, this will sell the movie. We have Janet Leigh's daughter, right? So that was definitely a selling point, for distribution as well. All right, we are moving on to Screamometer. Al, what do you give this one 1 to 10? What is your score? I'm so excited.
Yeah, I feel like I always have to preface it. Love the movie. The movie. Some good scares in it. It's a 6 out of 10 for me.
Oh, no.
You're going to give it higher, Ash. Come on.
I am.
I'm basing this on rewatch. A 6 out of 10, couple good scares. Not something that's keeping me up at night, though.
Right. Okay. I've had many nightmares about Michael Myers. They just like a recurring villain in my dreams. I'm giving it a 9. And let me tell you why. It didn't like
a 9 out of 10. Ash.
I think it is such a influential horror movie. It has like really good, like eerie scenes, like excellent cinematography, as you already said, but just like the whole concept of Michael Myers and this like thing, shape, evil force that cannot be killed is terrifying. The only reason I'm not giving it a 10 is because Paranormal Activity scared the bejesus out of me. And this isn't that.
I think your Screamometer is a little off, Ash.
I hear your criticisms. I really do, but I'm giving it a 9 just because I think I need to honor the movie itself, and it's one of my favorites, but it is scary. Like there are scary scenes.
You can love the movie, Ash, and give it a lower Screamometer. I think we can establish that. It's okay. No one will think anything less of you and your love for Halloween if you give it a 5.
Listen, agree to disagree. I'm giving it a 9. Stamp it in. I'm writing that in like felt marker, like permanent marker. This is a 9. Not Paranormal Activity scared, but like just it's a 9. Yeah. It's one of the best horror movies of all time.
I want to hear from our listeners on this. Please let us know what your Screamometer rating is on Halloween. Who do you agree with? Do you agree with Ash with a 9 or me with more like middle of the range, like a 6?
Listen, I'm a renegade. You never know what I'm going to say.
I'm always surprised.
Yeah, it's how I feel in the moment. All right, now it is time for Sip and Tell, where we discuss our personal experiences related to the content of Halloween. What do you have? What are our personal experiences?
Well, apart from dressing as I dressed as Laurie Strode, my current husband, dressed as Michael Myers a couple of years ago. For those of you who follow me on Instagram. I'll post the photo on our Sips and Screams page. It's pretty great.
Post that right now. That is so good.
I will post it after we finish recording. I will post it so people can see that. But we recreated one of those iconic scenes.
You were giving Laurie Strode. Like you look exactly like
you know
her.
How excited I was to dress as Laurie Strode and have my Michael Myers with me. Like it was amazing.
Yeah.
The one criticism I will say is at that time we couldn't get the original Michael Myers mask. It was all the ones from the remake.
The Rob Zombie.
The Rob Zombie one. I was disappointed by that.
Yeah. Not as good.
And then I think like you, Ash, I've also had a lot of, this stuck with me from 6 years old, a lot of nightmares where Michael Myers is a big part of it. I believe we have the same dream. We have to talk about this because you and I have talked about this before.
We have.
Listeners, Ash and I have the same recurring nightmare about Michael Myers.
Yeah.
These are the broad strokes. We're like in our childhood home, or I believe it's always that. And asleep in the back room is Michael Myers. And you're trying not to like wake him up because if he comes up, he's going to like slowly walk out of there and kill you. Yeah. And it's so odd. But we literally both have the same dream.
Absolutely. Like word for word, that was my dream.
Yeah.
And that sometimes he would wake up and like he would, he walks slow.
He does.
And you were trying to like,
him, though.
Yeah, you're trying to get away from him. We had the exact same dream. That's so crazy.
Do you still have that dream, Ash? I still do.
I don't think I've had it in a while, but now that we're talking about it, I'm probably going to have it tonight.
Maybe tonight. Yeah. Well, maybe
you're going to raise your screamo-meter.
All right. Check back in tomorrow. If I have the dream tonight, maybe I'll raise it.
And I think for me, so we babysat a lot, right? That was like our gig when we were like, I don't know, like not preteens, it would have been teenagers. Yeah, we were teenagers. We would like babysit together. We lived in like a small town. And I think we babysat tons of like around Halloween where the parents would go out and we'd be up late. So sometimes it was scary, mostly due to the children's behavior. But you know, putting the kids to bed, all that stuff. But one thing that sticks out in my mind is every town has that house, right? You have that house that's like abandoned.
The boogeyman house, Ash.
And it's literally we had one in our town that looked exactly like the Michael Myers house. It was white. It had like red shutters, if you remember. And it was but I think someone lived there, like apologies, but it looked very like abandoned. And we used to go by it and we were like loved Halloween and we would like, go by and be like, oh, that house is haunted. And again, I think like a very nice lady lived there.
Just someone living in there, going about their life.
Going with their life, but the outside could have used a little bit of, love and care, I think. But as kids, you're always just like causing trouble or whatever, going up and down the streets and stuff. But that sticks out in my head is something that we experienced as kids. And then I need to do a throwback. I'm going to do a throwback to episode 2, The Strangers. Yes. We actually had a serial killer in our hometown called Miramichi, New Brunswick. Look this up or go back to episode 2. We discussed this at length. We had a serial killer roaming the woods, much like Michael Myers. Yeah.
And there were sightings. People saw him on Halloween.
Think, wasn't he wearing like overalls? Like I swear.
I think we made that part up.
Well, yeah. Okay. But, and they,
I'm pretty sure he had the Captain Kirk mask. I don't know. I can't be sure. Pretty sure he did though.
He picked something up. But they canceled Halloween that year because we were like so sad. We're like, there's no Halloween. Yeah. Because there was a serial killer on the loose.
Like smart move. Maybe they should have done that in Halloween, right? Loomis warned the cops. They knew that Michael Myers was in town.
No, he said, keep your mouth shut and your eyes open.
All right.
He wasn't enforcing any kind of curfew or anything. But yeah, we had that in our hometown, Miramichi, New Brunswick, Alan Legier. And I think he was caught like a month after Halloween. So yeah. Okay, now it is time for Sips and Scares, where we discuss our favorite, scariest moments in Halloween. What is your number one?
Okay. I'm thinking about this because I have 2.
I'm ready.
I have 2.
What's your number one though?
All right. Number 1. Laurie's babysitting Tommy. I believe this is after Annie has been killed. Tommy's looking out the window and we said it before, right? They can see the house that Annie is babysitting at. And Tommy sees Michael Myers carrying a lifeless body from the garage into the house. And that scene, it's not like a big scene, right? But it's so good. And so he sees it and he sees the boogeyman and he tells Laurie, of course, Laurie doesn't believe him, but I think that scene for me, the eeriness of it, how sort of like not a big deal it was. And it's from like Tommy's point of view, seeing it, best scare in the movie for me.
And that part was absolutely terrifying. It definitely had to be Tommy because if it was Laurie, she would have noticed her friend, right? And would have freaked out.
Yes. It has to be the kid that didn't understand
It's the boogeyman.
Yes.
That was so good. For me, the number one scare, 100%. I still have anxiety watching this scene. So Laurie has this whole thing. She's very brave. She goes over, discovers all her friends' dead bodies, has the scuffle with Michael, comes out the door. She gets away. She's running. She's falling. Yeah. Right? She's trying to get to the house. And she falls. And then you see Michael Myers, and it's like the dun-dun. He comes out. He's like slowly walking towards her. But he's walking. She's running. Right. So she's running towards the door.
He's got a briskness to him during that walk, you know?
He does. He's like, I got this. Yeah. And then she has her key. She can't open the door. She can't find the key. She's like, the keys. Yeah, the keys. The dialogue's hilarious. The keys. Oh no. She's like trying to like fiddle with the lock. And, she can't get it. And she never does get the key. Like Tommy does have to let her in. And you're like, how?
Tommy like wakes up and slowly comes down. Even though Tommy's already seen the boogeyman that night.
And they're like sleeping peacefully.
Yeah.
This kid. But he comes down. He's kind of a hero, I guess, and lets her in. But like, how the hell is he still not there? Like Michael Myers is walking slow and she's fiddling with that key for like a full minute.
But we know that is such a good one. But we know that Michael Myers, he finds another way in, right? So maybe he saw that open window, Ash, and he's like, oh, I don't need to go through the front door.
Well, he's never running. He's never in a hurry.
He doesn't need to.
He's not in a hurry to get things done.
He's got a confidence about him, I'll say, right? He knows he's going to get the kill.
A silent confidence.
Confident type. Yeah, that's the description of Michael Myers right there.
Silent, confident type. Cheers to Michael Myers. And obviously, I would be remiss. I do think that scene I mentioned was the scariest, but come on, the closet.
Okay, the closet scene, yeah.
When you think of Halloween, you think of the closet.
You do think of the closet.
Right.
Jamie
Lee Curtis is in there. Laurie's in there.
You fashioned her knife from the coat hanger.
And Michael comes in with his really stabby knife, and he's stabbing the closet. She's in there like screaming. Yes. I remember that. It's like ingrained into my brain as a child. Again, very disturbing. I remember that scene and being absolutely terrified. So I love that scene. I think it's so good.
Okay, we have to, before we end this segment, we have to talk about the scene when she's, I guess, first confronted with him in the house that Annie's babysitting at, right? So she goes over there, she's found all of her dead friends, placed in their
all of her friends.
positions, all of her friends in the positions. She's very distraught in the room. And it's like in a dark room, and you see the background, and that's when we see Michael's face come into frame. Yeah. And that's the first time they do that. And it's so great. And it's so creepy when he attacks her. So I think that too, even though it's like short, I think that had a huge effect on horror movies in general, right? Cinematography, they use that a lot.
Where he just appears. Yeah. And I mean, she is in that house like quite a while. Like she discovers all her friends are dead and like clearly upset about that. She doesn't
call the cops, Ash. She doesn't call the cops.
I guess the phones are dead, the phone's dead. Yeah, she does try it.
She can't. It's not like they had cell phones in 1978.
No. And like, it was real quiet on that street as well. They were like the only ones home or something. But then she goes down to the kitchen, right? She locks the door. Very, I don't know, like The Shining-esque, right? Where Michael's coming in the door, like trying to open the door.
Yes.
And she's trying to go out
through it.
Yeah, he does break through it. But then she actually gets out, and it's always like this, like really frantic, her trying to she only has like 10 seconds to get out, and she gets out the kitchen door. Yeah. But that whole scene was very like anxiety provoking as well.
Oh, it was.
Pretty scary. Yeah. And I honestly thought in terms of scares for me, well, I loved the beginning. I thought the opening was so good. And then it goes to the Halloween, like the credits are so good. The opening credits, those are scary.
Good. Oh, the credits are really good. I know.
And it's the pumpkin, and it's just, it's so good. And it has like all the names of the people. Yeah. And
the ending credits too, where they go through all the different rooms and you just hear him breathing. Also brilliant.
Everything's, I guess, ended, right? She's like, is that the boogeyman? And he's like, as a matter of fact, it is. And then Michael's gone. But then it just has these still shots of all the scenes in the movie, all the rooms. And it's just him breathing behind the mask. Yeah. And it plays the Halloween music.
It's so
good.
And
it's very like benign, I guess, just like the videos of the scenes, but it looks like Michael's like voyeurism, like looking at all the different rooms. That was very, very effective. Without the music, it probably wouldn't have been as scary, but with the music, like brilliant. So good. Yeah. All right. Now it is time for cliches and ripoffs. What were the cliches in Halloween? What did it rip off? What ripped off it? I feel like there's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah. And it's interesting, right? Because I think it started some of these things that then became cliches. Of course, again, the police not believing the person that comes in to warn them, the teenagers having sex and getting killed, the ones that don't get killed.
Was this the first? This might have been maybe Carrie, but this was like one of the first ones that did it.
I know. I think it's one of the first ones that did it. And so I think they may have started that cliche, but it definitely became one in horror movies in general.
Laurie falling. And again, I'm like, was this the first one? Like her falling? Because she falls quite a bit.
Yeah.
You're running away and then they fall. It's not like she's wearing heels or anything. Like, why did she fall?
Yeah, they always make the women clumsy in these movies.
Yeah, very clumsy. It kind of is akin to like a romantic comedy, right? It's the same type of woman.
Yeah. Halloween, a romantic comedy starring Laurie Strode and Michael Myers.
Michael Myers. Well, that would be quite incestuous if you believe the timeline for Halloween too. Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that.
Scream. Right. So when Laurie takes the nap and then she wakes up and it's dusk, I guess, Scream did the exact same thing.
And I love
where
that about
Neve Campbell,
I love that scene.
Sydney takes a nap and then she wakes up and it's like dusk and then the killer calls. It was the exact same setup.
She's
the
napping?
exact same scene. Yeah, she takes a nap.
Oh, she takes a nap. Okay. And she wakes up to that. Okay. Yeah. I always have said, I've loved that scene in Scream. I think that dusk time when, again, it's like you're waking up, you're like unsure about things. Yeah. What a great moment to like create like a scare.
Yeah. And Psycho. So they did a little homage to Psycho, or a little nod to Psycho with Janet Leigh when Michael kills his sister Judith, and the way the stabbing motion, like the way it goes, is very much like Psycho.
Oh, yeah.
And you know who that was? Who the hand was?
No,
it was Deborah Hill. Because she's the only one that had like small enough hands, I guess.
Oh, because it was supposed to be a child.
Yeah,
I'm supposed to be a kid.
So she was the one that actually filmed the stabbing sequence. But that was like definitely a little nod to Psycho for sure.
And Janet Leigh appears in Halloween in later Halloween movies as well, right? In Halloween H2O.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I think one of the things that conjures up, and again, they did it in a different way, right? Clearly, it wasn't a human skin mask, but I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of did it first with Leatherface, right? He had the human skin mask and kind of covering his whole face, sort of being faceless. They went a different direction for this movie, but I think definitely that was a bit of a ripoff of Leatherface for Michael Myers. Yeah.
So where, we've talked about this, like Final Girls and things like that and we've talked about killers as well, but in terms of masks, where does Michael Myers stand for you? In terms of like the scariest masks, we have Leatherface, Michael Myers, Freddy, Jason, Scream, the Scream guy, person.
All right, the Scream one is not scary.
I know you do last summer,
but man, well, there's not even a mask in that one, right? It's just like a fisherman's
hood
thing. Number one, Ash, certainly number one. I love Freddy. But number one,
you're like, I love Freddy. Like you put your hand to your heart. That's how much you love Freddy.
Yeah, there's just, I have a soft spot for Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. But no, Michael Myers is number one. I mean, that mask is iconic. Again, maybe because of our childhood, but it's definitely number one for me. What about you?
Yeah, 100%. Number one.
Yeah, number one.
It's the scariest visually. And just like the way they cut out the eyes too, like it's just kind of like soulless, right? Like the black eyes. We have to play it. So I'm gonna play Loomis's famous monologue because I think it's one of the best ever in any movie of all time.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I am. I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong. I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the deathless eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. What do we do? He's been here once tonight. I think he'll come back. I'm going to wait for him. I still think I should notify the radio.
So good.
Yeah.
Right? The
so good.
devil's
Oh,
eyes.
Loomis was so great. I mean, I love that character. Yes.
Donald Pleasance. I mean, he
Donald
died in the
Pleasance.
90s, but he was
amazing.
the best. And he was kind of like the more, was he the moral compass? I don't know. He was like the center of the movie, and he had appeared in a lot of them. Yeah, he was so good. And I have one more ripoff, and I'm surprised you haven't mentioned it. Okay, the biggest ripoff of Halloween, It Follows. Right? And I love that movie, and we have to do it at a later time.
Slow walking? You mean the slow walking? Yes,
no,
we will do it.
The slow walking, the person that gets like infected by the whatever it is, the evil, and they slow walk towards the person, so you can definitely run away from it, but it's going to catch up with you eventually. And then when she's in the classroom and she sees like the person outside of the window, that's like almost like a direct ripoff of the scene with Laurie in the classroom in Halloween.
Oh,
so
yeah. Doesn't happen to Nancy too?
Yeah.
Or no, it doesn't.
Well, the classroom does, but she doesn't see anything outside the window. That's definitely been done quite a bit. Okay, it is time for alternate endings.
Oh, my favorite part. You know that.
I know that.
Actually, I don't know any of them. I did not look into this at all, so I'm relying on you.
Okay, so there isn't really like a big alternate ending per se, but there's an extended cut, which is what I want to talk about. And I think this one actually provides a lot of context to some of the other scenes that happen in the movie. So the original ending, Loomis comes up, he shoots Michael. Michael falls out the window. Yeah. Laurie's there like crying, like, oh, boogeyman. And then they go over and look out the window, and Michael's gone. He got up and left. He's gone. He's an immortal little dude, big dude, right? He's quite tall. So that is the one ending. And I guess there's like a slight ending twist in the TV version where they didn't show the gun. You just heard the gunshots from outside. So I guess it was some sort of,
do you see him fall though?
Thing.
Do you see Michael Myers fall through the balcony in that one? Okay.
You do. You see that, but you don't see Loomis shoot him.
Okay.
So I guess that was one thing. But the big difference is the extended cut. So I guess the network wanted to have less gore or something, or to at least have more scenes that weren't gory. So they have all these other scenes that are fantastic actually, and add so much context to the movie. So let me tell you about them. And if you watched it on TV, which we definitely did, like this thing was always playing, right? When we were kids, I feel like it was always on.
Oh, so we probably saw these, Ash, when we were kids, right?
Yeah. Like I went and watched them on YouTube. Yeah. Go watch them on YouTube. There's a bunch of scenes. There's actually 4 scenes that they add in the movie, but they provide a lot of context. So I just wanted to go through them. So the first one, which is what I said earlier, provides that kind of bridge between the killing of the sister and what happens until he turns 21.
15 years later. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the one. It's a scene it's Loomis, Dr. Loomis, and 2 cops. And they're not in a room. For some reason, they're in this like lecture hall, basically, which is so strange. I'm like, why are they in this huge like auditorium?
Are they talking about Michael?
They're talking about Michael. So they have the 2 like medical directors, I guess, or the cops or something. I think they're medical. And Loomis is sitting across from them, like 5 rows back in this huge lecture hall, pleading. They tell them the plan. They're like, okay, here's what we're going to do with Michael. It's like 6 months after he killed his sister. We're going to keep him in this asylum. And then when he turns 21, we're going to transfer him to the course that he's going to be tried.
It.
Yes, he's going to be tried as an adult for the killing of the murder of his sister. So they say they're going to keep him in this insane asylum for 15 years. When he turns 21, they're going to bring him to court. So without that, you don't really understand what his whole like motive was for escaping or something. So the scene is really, really pivotal.
Or what's happening at that time. Like, why are they... Well, he's up for parole. Like, you don't realize that. We don't know. You don't realize that. Charged. Yeah, it's not.
He's going to be charged for murder. And then Loomis, the whole time, he's listening to them, and he's just like head in his hands, like, oh, he's like, you have to listen to me. Like, you can't do this. He's like, he pleads with them to put Michael in a maximum security prison. This kid is 6 years old. And they're like, why? What? And he
already knew. But I'm sorry. In 6 months in, he met Michael, and he knew then. He's like, no hope for this little boy.
No hope. He had spent 6 months with him, 4 hours a day, doing all these psychiatric evaluations and psychological evaluations. And like, he just knew, he's like, there's no hope. He's like pure evil. And then the other doctors kind of push back, and they're like, he's in a catatonic state. Like what is he going to do? And then Loomis he's like, it's an act. He's waiting. And they're like, he's waiting for what? Yeah. And he says he doesn't know. And that's kind of how it ends. So that's one scene, I think, and it's a really, really good scene. Go watch it on YouTube. But it really, I think, explains that bridge between the killing and
they need that scene.
I know
the sequels do it though. I think the reimagining that Rob Zombie did definitely delves a little more into Loomis and treating Michael Myers and tells the story after he was incarcerated till he was 21. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the scenes. The other scene, I love this scene. It's a really short one. It's Loomis and Michael in Michael's cell or Michael's room. It actually wasn't a cell. It was quite nice, actually.
Oh,
Michael's little 6-year-old Michael's sitting there. Leisurely room in the asylum, right next to a window. It was quite nice. And Michael's sitting there looking out the window, very in his catatonic state or whatever. And Loomis comes in and sees him just staring out the window, and little blonde, little kid, Michael Myers. And Loomis is like, "You have them fooled, don't you, Michael?" And Michael does nothing. And then Loomis says,
I remember these scenes when we were kids. So you explaining it to me now is conjuring up memories from when we were kids. I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he says, "You fooled them, haven't you, Michael?" And he's like, "But not me." And then he leaves and goes away. So that's a good scene. There's another scene, and I definitely remember this watching it like on TV as a kid, where the nurse, after the escape, Loomis is there. They cut out this whole scene. Loomis is like, who escaped? And she's like, "I don't know. Like there was all this commotion." And then she leads him into Michael's room, and he's not there. Obviously, he had escaped when he was 21.
Michael's gone.
But then they show the closet door, and in it is carved sister. He's like, I know where he's going.
Yeah.
Like,
that's how he knows. Like they went to get Judith's gravestone and then put it with Annie's body and display it on the bed like that. Yeah.
That was a little on the nose, but that was a scene. And then this other scene, this is actually, I can see why they cut it, but there's another scene where Linda visits Laurie. So Laurie does her nap, but then she takes a shower and she comes down. The doorbell rings. She comes down in her robe, her bathrobe, and Linda's there, and she's like, "Let me in." And she's like, "What?" She's like, "That guy's following me." So she was being followed by Michael Myers.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So she experienced it too. He certainly targeted those three.
Yeah. So she comes in, and then Linda's really scared. She says, "Someone's following me," and then she's like, "It's Steve Todd. He has a station wagon." So some guy that they know in high school.
Oh,
yeah. So then
also had a station wagon.
Yeah. So I guess they're less scared than they would be if they knew it was a, maniacal killer. And then Laurie says that, "Oh, I saw the same guy was staring at me at school." And then Linda's like, "He was staring at you?" They're so bitchy. They're so mean to Laurie. Why would anyone stare at you
and not stare at me?
And then this whole other thing where Linda asked to borrow a blouse. She's like, "Can I borrow something?" She's like, "That white blouse you got on your birthday." And Laurie's like, "I haven't even worn it yet." She's like, "Oh, please." They're just the worst.
Okay, I'm glad that's not part of the movie, though. That is a ridiculous scene that really doesn't add much.
But then Annie calls on the phone and also asks to borrow clothes. Everyone wants to borrow clothes from Laurie, who dresses like a 1950s housewife, by the way, in some of these things. They all want to
buttoned up. Very buttoned up, Laurie.
They diss her the whole time and then want to borrow her clothes. So anyway, those were the scenes. So not an alternate ending, but
those are so great, and they add so much context. Yeah. And I remember it when we were kids watching it on TV with those, but those should be in the version we watch. Yeah, those are great.
100%.
At least most of them.
All right, we are moving on to the villain. Who's the villain in this movie, in Halloween?
Yeah. I mean, the obvious answer is Michael Myers. I'm going to go back a little further from that. I'm going to say the villain in this movie are Michael Myers' parents for leaving him alone with the sister who they knew would not take care of him, that caused, that instigated his killing of her. I'm going to say Michael Myers' parents.
I love that. So you're going upstream. You're I am.
I am. I'm going to the source. I'm going to the source. I
not the symptom.
You want me to go back further? Yeah, Michael Myers' parents for producing him and leaving him alone like that on Halloween night when he was 6.
No, it's true. And they must have had some inkling to his personality, and what he was capable of.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Who's your villain, Ash?
So I have a few. I mean, I don't think this is any surprise. Annie's friends are the worst. They literally treat her like a doormat. You think they deserved
their demise, Ash?
I mean, how I feel about Annie. She doesn't like dogs, and Linda was just kind of the worst. And with the extra extended scenes, I'm like, you are so mean to Laurie. So yeah, they were very, very villainous, in my opinion. The boyfriends were this is actually a very female driven movie. The boyfriends
Yeah,
boyfriend
very
sucked.
minimal characters, except for Loomis. Loomis was like a great male character, I think, in the movie.
He was amazing. Yeah.
And you've got Michael Myers.
And I said the parents too, but one of my number one villain is, and she is kind of forgotten. But when Laurie leaves the house, right, she discovers her dead friends and she's just going to the first available house that she can find and knocking on the door. And she's like, let me in. Door. And the neighbor opens up the door, looks out, sees Laurie like blood curdling, scream like, let me in now. And then she shuts the lights out.
She's like, not tonight.
Not tonight, Satan. She's definitely a villain. Yeah. And she reminds me of those people, like when you went out trick-or-treating that would not even leave candy. They would just like have their lights off and they're like, oh, they're not home, you know? So I always thought they were kind of like a Halloween villain. But yeah, this woman doesn't care that Laurie is asking for help. So definitely, I think that woman was definitely a villain as well. So there were a few villains. I think it's all up for debate. All right, now it is time for sips and simmering questions. Yes. And you all asked a lot of questions.
You did. This was a good one. This is a good one. People love this movie. People have questions about this movie. And we are here for you. We will give you our take.
We will. I have so many. So I have them written down. I'm just going to go through. We have 6 questions from all of our listeners. So let's just get into it. So this one comes to us from Donna F on Instagram. I love this one. How did Michael learn how to drive?
Yeah, I thought this too on rewatch, and then I love that she sent that question in.
Because he went to prison, not prison, but he stayed asylum at 6. So how did he learn how to drive? Do you
think, so here's my theory. I think that they teach them driver's ed in this asylum. I think that at 15, 16, they bring someone in, like Michael's like chained, tied up, but they want to give them the skills in case they get out. So I think driver's ed at the asylum is how he learned how to drive.
Listen, based on the cut scene where like he's in his room, which was quite large, by a window, the sun's streaming in.
Don't you?
I think this was a very nice.
This was an outing for the day. It was driver's ed for the insane.
So I have a different take. Just because I didn't see him use a signal light, right? So I don't really think he knew how to drive, and he also braked very quickly.
You're basing it on that. Yeah, but
I am. I think he was just like winging it. I don't think he knew what he was doing.
But he knew like the pedal, like he knew how to do this. I mean, it was an automatic car, right? That out. It wasn't like mechanical.
But that's like trial and error, right? This is the brake. This is the gas. Like, I feel like,
but he had nothing to lose at that point, Ash. So he's like, I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah. Okay. We have another question. This is coming to us from the Michael Myer Show on Instagram. Okay. This is so good. Do babysitters do chores? Do they, what in general? They certainly make popcorn.
They certainly do a lot of things. They drink the beer. They allow their friends in to go hook up in, like, I'm assuming, like, the primary bedroom. I don't think so. Based on when we used to babysit, Ash, I don't think we did chores. I don't think that was a requirement. I think you just had to be like a warm body there for like when the kids went to bed. I think that was it. Just a legality thing.
Well, would we like do dishes and stuff? Like, I can't remember.
I don't think I did dishes.
I don't know. I'm like, did we clean up? I don't think we did.
I don't think so.
I've seen this thing where sometimes
you definitely ate the food. You definitely ate the good.
Oh yeah.
There's always some good food. Yeah.
You always like find the snacks and eat those.
Yeah.
I don't think we really did chores. Okay. He has another one too. And I'd like to discuss this one. Are Mike and Laurie siblings? No.
Okay. It depends what you believe though, right? But like, okay, there's so many different iterations of this. But in Halloween, the original, there was no mention of Laurie and Michael being siblings. That came about in Halloween 2 and was carried throughout. Rob Zombie, when he did the reimagining of Halloween, made that a part of the original one, right? But we know that it was not part of the original Halloween. It was not part of the later sequel that we just had a few years ago, right? With Halloween Ends and everything. So no, they weren't. So that first movie, you forget that, right? But if you watch that, they were not siblings.
If you watch that in isolation, they are not.
Yeah,
but
they're not.
Deborah Hill and John Carpenter also wrote the screenplay for Halloween 2. They were kind of like bullied into it, I guess. They're like, we're writing this we're doing this with or without you. So they decided to write it. And they were the ones that came up with the whole sibling timeline. Okay. So this leads me into one more question from Becky Leonardis. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, from Instagram. And she said, I love this question. She's like, and this is if you believe that they're siblings. When Michael was a kid, he went upstairs and killed his older sister, Judith. Where was Laurie? Was she out with some friends? Because we don't see her until it's been 15 years later. So I did the math, and I want to walk through this. Okay. So Michael, this is such a good point, Becky. Thank you for bringing this up. So in Halloween 2, it is revealed that she's his sister, right? But that wasn't the original intent.
No.
So Michael's 21 in Halloween, right? Laurie's 17. So they're 4 years apart. When Michael was 6, she would have been 2. So a toddler. So where was she? If you believe that she was the sister, I think there were a couple different options, right? She could have been like asleep in her room, right? So the Judith was supposed to babysit, right? Maybe the toddler was
Judith
asleep.
was supposed to be babysitting. Didn't seem to care that much.
And maybe that's where she was. Or maybe she was with the parents. Maybe she was like in her car seat or something. And when they get home, like that's where she was. So I think those are the only 2 options, because Michael did it. I mean, even in the later ones, like Michael doesn't really hurt children, right? I think there's like one time where he hurts a child. He goes after
Jamie in like Halloween 5, Ash. He goes after her.
He does, but he takes pause in Halloween 5 before he she doesn't think that he's gonna kill her.
I like the idea that Laurie, little baby Laurie, is sleeping in the room, in some other room in the house. And the only reason I say that is because, I bet those parents needed a night out. You think they brought the 2-year-old like baby with them? I don't think so. I think they left the baby home with the 16-year-old Judith, or whatever she was, 17-year-old Judith, trusting in her to take care of the kids. So I like to think that's where she was.
And I don't think they did write Halloween 2, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, but I don't think they thought about it. I really don't think they thought about it.
It was not part of Halloween. Yeah.
They did give the backstory though, right? So the backstory is this, and this also bridges it in Halloween 2, spoiler alert, but they give this backstory. You find out that they're siblings, and this is the story. So like, after Michael kills his sister, he's away, and then the parents die in a car crash 2 years later. And then Laurie's adopted by the Strodes, right? So that's the whole thing, in the same town also. Yeah. So like they knew, like it's kind of weird because like they knew that they were selling the house of like the parents who were killed in the car crash of their adopted daughter. Yeah. So it's very murky, but depending on what timeline I guess you believe, and we'll definitely talk about that in a minute, but it's kind of complicated. So that's a great question though. All right. We have another one. This is from Timmy Rupert. I love this one too. Which has better kills, Halloween or Friday the 13th? And we did Friday the 13th a few episodes ago. Go check out episode 7.
Yeah. This is an easy one. Friday the 13th has better kills.
Yeah.
There's more of them. They're more
creative.
They're more creative. Definitely Friday the 13th. They're like Halloween, like hold my beer, take it to a next level. Yeah.
Wait, we didn't even talk about this in ripoffs. Friday the 13th ripped off Halloween like so much.
They all did.
So much.
Yeah, all of them did. And everyone else did. They all did. Yes.
Yeah. But I 100% agree. The kills are better in Friday the 13th, but Halloween was less about the gore, right? It was more about what you didn't see. Because you didn't even see a lot of the kills. You just saw the dead body.
Better. And then you have the music, right? So that really added to it. But yeah, absolutely. But 100% Friday the 13th, better kills.
Absolutely. Okay, we have one more question. I think they got a little mixed up on this one, but this is from Loose Juice OJ. Who is scarier? Now the question is, who is scarier? Jason Voorhees or OJ Simpson? Well, I think he got the villain wrong. I think he might have meant
that Jason Voorhees was in Halloween, but it was Michael Myers.
Let's assume he meant Michael Myers. What are you thinking, man? Okay, so who was scarier, Michael or OJ?
I'm going to go with Michael Myers. The longevity of it all. I mean, OJ certainly scary, but my vote would be for Michael Myers. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's the like immortal nature of it, right? Yeah. So like evil personified, which was kind of personified. I don't know. He was also just didn't really seem like a human. So I'm going to go Michael Myers as well. And since you mentioned Jason, I don't think Jason's as scary as Michael.
No, he's not. We talked about this when we did Friday the 13th, right? We did. Like Michael Myers top.
Loose Juice OJ, go listen to episode 7 as well. And let us know what you think, if you agree with our take on it. Okay, it is time for Sips and Sequels. I mean,
where do we begin here, Ash? There's been a million.
So what I would like to do is talk about timelines, right? So Halloween, dear God, Halloween has so many timelines. Do you know how many timelines it has? Like, can you like do the family tree of Halloween?
And define timeline. You mean like all the different like reimaginings of it?
Yeah. And but you can look this up online, but there are a certain number of timelines that like you can watch them in a series in a row. And that would be like one full timeline.
And I thought there were 3.
There's more than 3. There are 5. There are 5
there's
timelines.
5 timelines. Okay.
Do you want me to? I'll walk you through them.
Yeah.
And so like you can actually, it's kind of fun because you can actually like, if you want to watch all 5, like, you can watch them in a certain order. And then that kind of completes the story or like that version of the story.
Oh, love that.
So you have the original one, Halloween 1, right? The one that we're reviewing tonight, and Halloween 2 up to Halloween 6. But there's no Halloween 3 in this one. So Halloween 3 is, you know, kind of revered, I guess, as a cult classic.
Season of the Witch?
Yeah, Season of the Witch.
Yeah, brutal.
We watched a Season of the Witch.
Yes, but that was the worst one.
Season of the Witch has no Michael Myers. It is so wild. It is about these like killer masks. It's these witches that curse these masks. Yeah. And when children put them on and they are watching TV, when they hear a certain song, the masks explode, right? It's like unhinged. It's very, very strange. So that's the first timeline. The second one would be just Season of the Witch. It stands alone. It's its own timeline. It's its own thing. There's no Michael.
Got it.
It did so bad at the box office that they like went back to Michael Myers. And then you have the newest timeline, right? The one that just came out in 2018. So it's Halloween 1. There is no sequel, right? So Laurie is not his sister, Michael's sister. Yeah. And then it goes to the new trilogy, Halloween, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. So that's a whole, I actually really like that one. And then you have the H2O.
Well, you don't like Halloween Ends, but yeah.
I don't like Halloween Ends, but I really liked the resurgence in 2018. I loved it.
Yeah.
You have the H2O one, like kind of like the peak millennial, right? Resurgence. So it's Halloween 1.
H2O. And then the one after that was the one where they did the reality show, right?
That's
Rob part of that timeline? No, it's Halloween 1 and then the one where they were inside Michael Myers' house.
Yes. Yeah.
That's part of that one. Yeah.
Yes. It's H2O and then Resurrection or something.
Resurrection. That's the same timeline.
So that's Halloween 1, Halloween 2. She is the sister in this one because there's this whole like standoff with Laurie and Michael. So that's that one. And then the final one is the Rob Zombie one. It's like a reboot. But definitely wasn't. I don't like the mask.
First one was good. The second one wasn't good. I agree. The mask is not as good, but I liked the backstory. They really filled in a lot of those holes.
They did,
and what happened to Michael when he was in the asylum. So I like that part of it.
Yeah.
But the recreation of Loomis, just not the same.
No,
needs to be done on Pleasance.
Yeah, but he was dead at that time, right? 1995.
Yeah, no, of course it couldn't be him, but yes.
I'm like, was it CGI? I don't think they had CGI at that time. No. So what's your favorite timeline? Like if you were to choose?
That is such a good question. My favorite timeline is the one where Halloween and then the 2018 Halloween. Okay. I love that timeline. I like that she's not his sister. I like that it just sort of exists beyond that. That's my favorite timeline. What about you?
I like the one with the H2O. I like their standoff. I like Halloween 1. I loved Halloween 2. I know a lot of people don't like it as much.
She dies in Resurrection, Ash. You want Laurie Strode to die?
I thought it was a nice like fitting end. And Jamie Lee Curtis apparently wanted that to be her ending as well. She's like, I want to die in this one. And it was her choice. He didn't kill her. Like she was like, see you in hell. Right. She kills.
To be fair, I loved Resurrection. Resurrection was so good and just brought it back. Right. And we hadn't had a Halloween movie in a while. So
we should go watch that. Cause I forgot about the reality show. That is so good.
It's so good. They're in his house and it's so great. It's scary too. Yeah. We'll watch that.
So scary. Halloween is just the franchise that keeps on giving. Like, will they reboot it? They might.
They're going to reboot it.
Halloween Ends.
Now, I don't know.
So like Halloween Ends.
I hated Halloween Ends.
If you didn't watch Halloween Ends, stop now. But like they kill him. They like put him through an incinerator at the end. They're like trying to kill him. I just think, okay, this is my idea for the sequel. And I feel like they were like kind of alluding to it. I feel like a little bit of Michael got into Laurie. Right. So like he wasn't her sister, but like it got into her.
During what part? During what part?
I don't know. Like in their interaction at the end. So it'd be cool if she's the new Michael Myers. Like that's what I thought they were going to do.
I do not want that at all. Laurie's the savior, Ash. Laurie's the hero. I do not want her to become Michael Myers.
Well, I'd be here for it. That's all I'm saying. Like Jamie Lee Curtis.
Let's stay tuned. What happens?
Never stopping. Michael Myers. Never stop.
You know they're going to reimagine it. When they do, we will cover it on this podcast.
We will. Absolutely. All right. Well, that's going to do it for Sips and Screams episode 9, Halloween. Thank you so much for joining us and listening today. Join us next time as we sip on more themed cocktails and discuss the good, the bad, and the truly terrifying of our favorite horror movies. Cheers.
Cheers.